So we've been learning how to write our own FreeDOS programs, and everything we've done so far has been using standard C, and it's been having programs that scroll text from the bottom of the screen. And that's great if you're going to be writing utilities that process files or do something else. But what if you need to write a program that's more of an application that actually is capable of taking over the entire screen, using colors, moving text around, things like that. So how do you do that? Well, we're going to learn how to do that this week using a Conio library. That's console input output. Now, a thing to note about Conio is that it's very compiler specific. It's non-standard library. So everything we've been learning up until this point has been standard C. And you can take everything you've learned about writing FreeDOS programs in C and write a Linux program or write a Mac program or any kind of Windows console program. It's standard C, so it'll compile anywhere. Conio is different. Conio is very specific to DOS and is different based on the compilers. There are some functions across Conio that you'll see common across different implementations of Conio. But a lot of the functions we're going to go over today are specific to the Open Watcom compiler. That's what I'm going to use for today's video. So let's kind of get started just to kind of jump into how to do Conio programming. So we're going to start with a function that is actually a common function. You may see it across different Conio implementations, and it's called getCh. That will get a character directly from the keyboard. So you remember we've been using getChar, for example. We did a version of the FreeDOS pause command that used getChar, and it was doing a loop to read the enter key. We also did another version that used scanf, that it required you to actually hit enter. You could type anything you wanted, but you had to hit enter. Well, pause really is looking for you to press any key on the keyboard to continue. How do you write that program? And we're going to do that using getCh. So let's go and write a simple program for that. Let's go ahead and write a program. We'll just call it pause. I'm going to misspell it so that way I know that I'm using this one and not the system pause command. We're going to do include standard IO. Oops. And to do conio, we're going to include something else, and that's include conio.h. Most functions that will control the screen are going to be in conio. You'll also see some that are in graph.h. But we'll get there. So let's start with a simple program here. Now, pause doesn't need to take any arguments, so I don't need to have anything in the argument list. And what does pause do? Pause will print a prompt and wait for you to hit a key. Now, I could do put s, press any key to continue. But remember, with put s, that's actually going to put a new line at the end of that. I don't want that, so I'll just do a print f. We're going to see a bug in this in a second, but I will go back and fix it. And then how do we just get a key from the keyboard? We use a function called getCh, and that will specifically get one character from the keyboard. And then I'm going to go ahead and return back the operating system because that's all pause is doing. So this is all we need to do to write our own version of the FreeDOS pause command. Let's go ahead and save and quit. I'm going to use the Open Watcom compiler, so I need to include the environment. So devel ow setup. Oops. OW set end. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and compile that program. WCL pause.c. And you can see it went ahead and compiled my program. And now if I run pause, I don't get any text back. Remember I said we're going to introduce a bug. Although if I hit anything on my keyboard like a space, you'll see that prompt pop right back up. So let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Do pause.c. So normally when we do a printf, it's printing out to the standard output. And whenever we do something like a getChar or scanf or something like that, it will actually what's called flush the output stream. getCh doesn't do that. So to make sure that we're flushing the output stream, we're just going to manually flush it. How do we do that? We use it with a file flush command, fflush. And we want to flush the standard out. And all that's going to do is just make sure that anything that was waiting on the standard out gets printed before we go to the next thing, which is the get ch. And that's all I need to do to fix this program. So we'll go ahead and save and quit, and we'll recompile our program, pause.c. And you see, by the way, WCL, the Open Wacom compiler and linker, is generating a lot of output, and that's why I haven't been using this for most of the video series, because it just puts out a lot of text. So let's go ahead and run pause. And you can see that this time it actually does print out our prompt, and it's going to wait for any key to continue. And then we hit space, and that allows me to exit the program. So this is how we're now starting to use Conio to write programs that interact, in this case, directly with the keyboard. Now, let's do another program where we're going to be clearing the screen. So normally we'd use the CLS command for that. On Linux, it would be clear, but we don't have a clear command on DOS, so let's go ahead and write one. So clear.c. Now, I'm not going to be printing anything out to the screen, so I don't need to do an include standard IO, and it turns out the function I need to clear a screen isn't in conio, it's actually in graph.h. So my main function, I'm not going to have any I'm not going to have any command line options on this. It's just clearing the screen. How do I clear the screen? You're going to clear that with a function that's obviously named clear screen. It has an underscore in the front, and that's just so that it doesn't get mixed up with any other functions that you might have maybe as part of your program. So that's part of that's the function underscore clear screen will clear the screen. Now the Conio or the Open Wacom implementation of clear screen will actually take an argument here, and it'll take a couple of different things. It'll take three, but really the two that you need to know about right now is one of them is going to be G window, which we'll get into in a little bit. But that'll clear what's called a text window. If we define a range on the screen, that's called a window. But we want to clear the entire screen, so we're going to do underscore G clear screen. And that will clear the entire screen and set the cursor back to the upper left. And that's all we need to do for this. Let's go ahead and return 0. That's all the CLS command is really doing. It's just really blasting the video memory and will clear the screen and then resets the cursor to the upper left. There's some other stuff you might do if you detect that you're not running on a what's called a TTY or a regular console, like if you're running on a serial console. But in this case, we'll just do a simple console clear screen. Go ahead and save that, and we'll do a compile, clear.c. And now I can go ahead and run clear. And you can see it clears the screen. Just really, it's blasting the video memory, and that allows me to completely clear the screen. Now, let's talk about how do you move text around. So in this case, we learned how to clear the screen, but kind of the next step to that is to print text at different parts of the screen. So let's do a simple one that's basically a hello world program. So I'm going to do hello.c. Now we're going to do include. We're going to do conio and include graph.h. And what we need to do here is our main function. And normally when you run programs, you want to make sure you set the video mode appropriately. Now, I didn't need to do that with clearing the screen because it didn't really matter. And it doesn't really matter for this one either, but just to kind of introduce it, if you want to set a particular mode, you would use a function called underscore set video mode. That's what Open Wacom is using to set the video mode. You can use a couple of different options in here. The most common are going to be text BW80, and that's going to be that'll set the video mode to run in a at 25 row 80 column text screen, but in black and white mode only. And so that will actually run anywhere. Every PC screen is capable of displaying text BW80. But if we want to do color, we don't need to do color for this program, but if we want to do color, We're probably going to be doing something like underscore text C80. So we're just changing that BW to a C, and that's going to say we're going to be in text mode, and we're going to run at color 25 lines, 80 columns. And so that's the video mode that we're going to set here. Now, if I wanted to move my text around, I can do a function called set text position, underscore set text position. And where do I want to move it? I want to move it, it turns out, not in an XY coordinate, but in a YX coordinate. And so where do I want to move this? I want to put this on, I'll just do an example here. We'll put this on, we'll put on line 10, and we'll put this over in column 60. Just so we know, it's very obvious. It's not on, like, you know, column 10 or something. So this will be a little less than halfway down, and it'll be way towards the right-hand side of the screen. Now, normally we would do printing using something like put s or a printf statement. But to print directly to the screen, what you want to do is do another function called outText. And just like printf, or just like putS, you're just going to be putting out a regular string. So you're just going to be putting out a string that's going to be hello world in this case. So if you want to put something else, there is actually a console version of printf. But in most cases, what you want to be putting out is some kind of a string. And so outText is going to get you quite a ways down that road. And then now that I've printed it out, let's go ahead and just kind of wait for a prompt. So I probably should prompt the user for that. So let's go ahead and set our text position to the bottom of the screen, the 25th line, and the first column. And we'll put out outText, press any key to quit. Oops, to quit. And now I'm going to go ahead and just wait for a key. What do? I do get ch. And now that I'm done, I can go ahead and set the video mode maybe back to what it was before. And you can do that with set video mode underscore default mode. That's going to always put it back to the mode that it was in before. Now, you don't actually have to do that in this case because I'm not doing anything weird with colors, but this is a great time to start introducing that. And now that I'm done with that, I can go ahead and return back the operating system. Let's return 0. So what is this program going to do? Literally, all I'm doing here is I'm setting the video mode to be color, and I'm at line 10, column 60. I'm going to print the text "Hello World," and at line 25, column 1, I'm going to press any key to quit, and I'm going to wait for a key to get pressed on the keyboard. I'm going to set the video back to default. I'm going to go ahead and back the operating system. So it's a very simple Hello World program. Go ahead and save that. WCL hello.c. And now I have a hello program. And you can see that it's cleared the screen because that happens as part of setting the video mode. And now I've moved hello world at the 10th line down and at column 60. Print the words hello world. And at the bottom of the screen, I've now made my little prompt that says press any key to quit. So that's a very simple, and then once I hit space or any key, or actually, in this case, I'll just hit a letter. And so once it's done that, it goes and resets the video mode back to the default, which, as you see here, also clears the screen again. So that's a very simple way to move text around on the screen. The most important thing to remember is that when you're using that set text position function, you're not doing an XY coordinate. You are always doing sort of a YX coordinate. Now, what if we wanted to actually display text in color? Well, there's a whole bunch that I could say about color, and I've actually done that in another video, and I'll make sure that gets linked in the programming guide. But DOS is only able to display colors on text in 16 foreground colors and 8 background colors. And so you've probably seen these before. These are colors like black and blue and green, all the way up to cyan, red, magenta, brown, and white. And those are the 8 basic colors. And then you also have bright versions of that. So you get, it's odd to say, but you got a bright black, which is really gray, bright blue, bright green, so on and so forth. Now, instead of brown, you're going to get yellow. And I've talked about that in other videos as to why you're getting those different colors on DOS. And it really comes down to using that modified IRGB to display red, green, and blue at different brightnesses. And you're doing it with bits, so it's either going to be on or it's going to be off. So those colors, though, are what you're going to be using to set your text colors using Conio. So let's go ahead and write a simple program here just to kind of show some examples of changing some colors. Let's go ahead and start up a new program. What I want to do in this one, I'm just going to do a simple thing where I'm going to be setting the screen color. So we don't have a program called color already, so I'll go ahead and write one. Color.c. This is going to be using graph.h. So include graph.h. I'm not going to be using any functions that are going to be from Conio, so I don't need to include that here. If I did, it wouldn't do anything. It's just not going to be used. I'm not going to take any command line arguments on this one. And let's go ahead and set our foreground. Really, it's our text color and background color. So how do we set the text color? Well, there's a very nicely named function called set text color. And that's going to take a number. So the number is going to be really a number from 0 to 15. And so I might use 7. I'll talk about what those colors are in a second. And if I want to set the background color to something specific, I might say, okay, well, set BK color, shorthand for background color. And I'm going to set that, let's say, to, let's set this one to 2. And I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen, because whenever you do a clear screen, you're going to always set the screen or the window, if you're going to do window, to that background color. And so I'm going to set this to G clear screen. I'll go ahead and return back the operating system, and I'll just leave the colors as they are, so we'll see that it's going to be a specific color. Now, what colors are those going to be? So let's just, I know that I'm going to talk about, I talked about it in another video, but just as a reminder here, you've got high intensity colors and you have low intensity colors. So low intensity colors, and then over here I'll put in the high intensity colors. So what are these colors? 0 is going to be black. 1 is going to be green. I'm sorry, 1 is going to be blue. 2 is going to be green. 3 is going to be cyan. 4 will be red. 5 will be magenta. 6 will be brown. 7 will be white, although it's really sort of a gray color. Now, why are those colors the way they are? So again, I mentioned this in another video, but how do you display color? Colors are always displayed as an intensity, red, green, and blue combination. And those are binary, so it's really 4 bits that we're describing here. And so what are low intensity? Low intensity colors are always going to have 0 for the intensity. And then let's go ahead and count in binary. So what is 0? That's 0, 0, 0. Over here, I've got 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, and then 0, 1, 1, 1. So let's remind ourselves what that is. The intensity is always going to be 0 on this because we are looking at the low intensity colors. And then each one of these is going to be bits for red, green, and blue. So if I've got none of those colors showing, I'm going to get black. If I've only got the blue color showing, obviously I'm going to get blue. If I've only got the green color showing, I'm to be green. And if I've got both green and blue showing, it's going to be cyan, and so on down the line. Now, if you look at these are binary. And so what is 0011? Well, 0011 is 3. And so that's why these colors are represented by these numbers. Brown, by the way, is a special case, and I mentioned that in the other video as well. And then high intensity colors is going to be the same thing, except you're going to have 1000, and that's going to be a bright black. And you're going to have 1001, and that's going to be a bright blue, and so on for the other colors. Let me go ahead and finish out that comment. And so that's why you get those colors. You're going to get what is that bright black? Well, that bright black is going to be what is that? It's going to be 8 with zeros behind it, right? So that's going to be binary. It's going to be 8, and that's why bright black is going to be that. And so what is remember, this is going to be your 1's position, your 2's position, your 4's position, your 8's position. This is 8 plus 1 is 9. It's going to be bright blue. So really we're just taking the colors 0 through 7, which are black through white, and we're turning them into bright versions at 8 through 15. And those are the colors you're going to be using down here for set text color and set background color. So here we're setting the color, the text color to 7, which is going to be white, which is basically the color you're seeing right here for my text. And then the background color is going to be, I set it to 2, which is green. So we'll have a white text on a green background. Let's go ahead and it's going to clear the screen. That's when it's going to actually take effect. And let's go ahead and save and quit. And WCL color.c. And if I run color, you can see that it's now cleared the screen with it's somewhat difficult to read white on green. If I changed my my program, so I'm using for me a more pleasant color of white text on a blue background, so change set BK color to use 1, which is blue, and I compile that. WCL color.c, and now I compile that, or just run that color, and you can see I'm getting white text on a blue background. And so that's how you're very simply going to set colors in your programs. And if I had moved to a different part of the screen, I would have text that I displayed would be in this white on blue. And if I change the color, then I'd be able to change the color. And so that's where drawing text windows is probably the next thing to talk about. And when I talk about changing or about doing text windows, I want to make sure I'm clear here. It's not the same thing as windows on Windows or Mac or Linux. We're not talking about drawing a graphical window in this case. Here, when we talk about windows or text windows in Conio type functions, we're talking about declaring a part of the screen from an upper XY coordinate to a lower XY coordinate. We're going to say, okay, from the upper left corner to the bottom right corner, that's a region on the screen. And the term for that is a window. So whenever I talk about window, I'm really just saying we're going to define a region of the screen from this upper coordinate to this bottom coordinate. And then stuff we do inside that window, like clearing it with a new background color, is only going to affect that text window. So let's look at, and that's, by the way, a very fast way to set the background color on a region of the screen. So it's very useful if you want to draw a screen that's got, let's say if you're doing a card game that's got a green tableau and you want to draw some cards on it, you just define the whole screen, clear that with a green background, bam, your entire screen is now green. You define a little region on there that's got a white background, and you clear that window, and then boom, you've now got a blank card that's been drawn. So it's a very fast way to draw these regions of color in text on your screen. So let's go through a demo to actually show how to do that. So I mentioned doing a card game, so let's go ahead and do a simple version of a card game. So we'll do a program here called we'll call it cards. And so I'm going to be using both Conio functions and graphics functions. So I need to do include Conio and include graph. Oops, graph.h. Now, I always find it's easiest to do this by setting some functions to do different things. It just makes it, in my experience, a lot easier. So I'm going to make one function which doesn't have a return, so I'm going to call it a void. This function is clear at a tableau. So I talked about writing a little card game where you have a green tableau. A tableau is just the table where you're drawing your cards. And it's not going to take any arguments either, so we'll just do a void. And let's go ahead and draw a tableau. So draw a tableau, just a blank screen. With a green background. Oops. So how do I do that? So I want to define a text window. I could do the entire screen, I guess, but we're going to do text windows on this one. So I'll just do a text window. So we'll do a set a text window from the upper left, which is 1, 1. And I want to do the bottom right. That's going to be line 25, column 80. And then I want to, yeah, and I know I've got some odd spacing in there, and that's just because as I type this, it's going to make it a little easier to say that's a coordinate and that's a coordinate. Remember, spaces aren't really that important in C. The important thing is that I found a comma. So the fact there's a space comma or just a comma is so I defined a text window that's actually in this case covering the entire screen. And I want to go ahead and set a background color. So set BK color. And remember, what was green? Green is 2. I'll make a little note here. That's green. And now I want to clear that window. Again, I could clear the entire screen, but I'm trying to show how to do windows here. So we'll do a clear screen function. Clear screen. And remember, I want to clear just the window. So in that case, what I'm going to pass the clear screen function is the argument of gwindow. And now that will do exactly what I was looking for. It's going to set a text window. It's going to set a background color. It's going to clear that window. And then, bam, just like that, the entire screen will be green. What other functions do I want to do in here to do cards? Well, I probably want to have a function that's going to draw a card. So let's do a function that doesn't return anything. So it's just going to be a void. Draw card. Not drawing from a deck. I'm actually drawing a card on the screen. And this is, you might do, if you're writing a full program, you might want to do things like, what position is it going to be on screen? So we'll say card position. You might ask it for what suit you're going to display the card in, like is it a hearts or a spades or something? And then what is the value of that card? So is it an ace or a 2 or a 3, all the way up to Jack, Queen, and King? I'm not going to do that in this one. I'll just have those as sort of placeholders. But that's how you would draw a card. Is you would probably want to have those values passed to the function so that the function deals with that on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and define a. Since I'm not going to. You'll probably see a warning when I compile this that I'm not going to be using any of these values. So instead of actually figuring out where to put this, I'm just going to go ahead and hard code something. So we'll do a set text window. Again, I'm just hard coding this one. If I were drawing an actual game, I probably want to figure it out a text window based on what card position it's in. But here I'll just hard code it to be start at line 5. And column 10, and it's going to go down to line 9 and column 16. So I'm going over by that's going to be line 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm counting. That's going to be 5 rows, and that's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. I've counted. That should be 7 columns. Now it sounds like that's not going to be enough. But remember, every column in a DOS text is actually pretty tall, right? So if I highlight a character, you can see that's how tall it's going to be. So 5 of those wide by 7 tall is actually pretty good. I'm sorry, 5 tall by 7 wide is actually that'll actually be pretty good. And let's go ahead and set our background color. So I'm going to go ahead and set BK color. And the background color I want to do is white. And what do you remember that one? That was 7. Oops, I don't need an extra line in there. And then I want to go ahead and clear just that window. So clear screen for G window. And just like that, I've defined a region on my screen. There's also what we did. We just defined a region on the screen, a specific region of the screen. We set a background color, which is sort of this plain white. And then we've cleared the screen, or just that window, with that white color. And so just like that, bam, you'll see that we actually will have drawn a rectangle on the screen. Now, before I actually return, I probably want to do some other stuff with that card. So, let's draw inside the card. All right, so we're going to draw the suit, and we need to draw the value. So if I were going to be if we're going to actually write a real game, I'm actually going to use the values that I passed up here as suit and value, but I'm just going to go ahead and hard code something just because I'm doing a demo program. So I want to set the text color. I'm not setting the background color because that's still going to be that white, but I'm going to set a background color here of, what am I going to do? I'm going to do a, well, this will be the card value. We'll put that one always in black. So we'll do color of black. And then, oops, I want to, now I want to set the text position. And this is an interesting thing when you do windows. So whenever you do a window, whether you've cleared the entire screen and that's your window, or either cleared just a small portion of the screen, it's always going to set the upper left position to be 1, 1. So 1, 1 is not always the upper left-hand corner of the entire screen. 1, 1 is always the upper left-hand corner of whatever region you've defined, a text window. So if I want to put this text in the upper left-hand corner of the card, I want to set a text position, set text position of 1, 1. That's going to put it in the upper left-hand corner of the card. And if we go up here, where's the upper left? The upper left is going to be on the screen at row 5, column 10. And now I want to go ahead and draw some text, which will be, again, using the out text. And let's do a value of, say it's the, let's just do the card, maybe it's the 4 of hearts. And let's go ahead and draw the suit. So I can do a heart after that. That might be, and heart is a red card, so we should set the color here. Set text color to be what was red. Well, if you remember the binary, it's going to be 4, and so that's red. And I don't need to set the text position because I'm going to put this right after the 4, because every time you draw on the screen, the next position is going to be picking up right where it left off, unless you're going to move the cursor again. So in this case, it's going to follow exactly that 4. And now I want to just do an out text of a heart. Now I could do, H to indicate that's hearts, but you can also use the extended DOS character set, and that's going to be \003. That's going to be a heart. That's a playing card. So I'll make a little note of what that is. It's a heart. And let's show one more thing about how to move some text around. Let's do set text position. And this will be in the middle of the card. So what was the middle of the card? Well, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are the rows that the card is on. So the very middle of the card is going to be at row 7. And oops, sorry, not that's that's the screen position, right? I've got 5. It's on rows 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 5 rows. So if I want this to be in the middle row, but where 1, 1 is the upper left-hand corner of the region, the card, I want this to be on row 3, right? Because row 1, row 2, row 3, 5. It's going to be 3 is going to be in the middle. And then what's it need to be then for the columns? So remember, it's row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. I'm sorry, column 1, column 2, column 3, all up to column 7. And to put it right in the middle, it's going to be 4. So if I set my text position relative to the region is 3, 4, row 3, column 4, that's going to print out right in the middle of the card. And I'll just go do another out text. And we'll print out another heart. And that's the end of my function. Now, if I want to, we'll save we'll do another thing here for printing a message. But for right now, let's go ahead and just compile this program, just to kind of see where we're at so far. So here's our main function. I could do main with a void in there, but here, do int main. I'm going to go ahead and set video mode to text color 80, so that way I know that I'm using color. You could check that return value to see if that's correct, and I'll put a note about that in the programming guide, but you can also check the manual for Open Watcom, and it'll tell you what the return value is. I'm going to turn off the display cursor. That's something we haven't learned about yet, but you can say display cursor, should it be displayed or not, and I'm going to say G cursor off, and that will turn off the cursor. So now we won't actually see the little blinking underline that we have right now. I'm going to go ahead and call that clear tableau function. And that's going to, if you remember, completely clear the screen with green. And then let's go ahead and draw our card. Remember, this might be card, I had some arguments in there, so it might be card 1. What else were they? It was like suit 1 and value of 4. Maybe that's the 4 of hearts. And then let's just go ahead and, after we draw that card, just to kind of see where we are, let's go ahead and wait for a keystroke, and then return back the operating system. So we'll go ahead and turn the cursor back on. So display cursor, cursor on, and we'll go ahead and set the text mode back to the default. So set video mode going to be _ default mode, and now I can return back the operating system return. So before I compile this, again, remind ourselves what we've done. So we've already kind of reviewed the functions as we've written them up above, but we're setting the video mode to make sure that we're in an 80 by 25 display in color. We're setting our cursor to not show, so you can see right here in the editor, it's blinking a little cursor to show me where my cursor is. We're going to turn that off. We're going to call the clear tableau function. That'll clear the entire screen with green. And then I'm going to draw a single card using the draw card function. And then I'm going to wait for a keystroke. And then it's going to go ahead and turn the cursor back on. It's going to set the video mode back to the default, and it's going to return back the operating system, just so we can kind of see that the program that we're writing actually works. So go ahead and save and quit, and wcl cards.c. And now I have a program called cards. And so we'll get a green field and we'll draw on one card. And there it is. So very, very fast because we're clearing windows at a time. We've generated a card by clearing the entire screen with green, and we defined a region on that. Then we cleared that with a white background, and that's where we got our card. And then we drew inside the card by making a black 4 and a red heart. And I just need to press any key, and I can just, in this case, I'll press a number key just to show you it's any key. And that brings me back to the operating system. Now, if I wanted to do other stuff in there, so fed cards.c, if I want to do other stuff in there, in a full application, I might need a way to display messages back to the user. So I might have a simple message at the bottom of the screen. And so let's make a function here called, this will be void, and it'll be print message, and it's going to be passing it a message string. And I want to, I could clear the screen as part of this function, but let's actually write a function up above to do that. So let's do a void clear message. So that doesn't make any arguments. So what does clearing the message? Let's actually do this message at the, let's do it at the bottom of the screen. So we'll set our text window to be the 25th line, column 1, and it goes down to the 25th line, the bottom of the screen, column 80. And so that's our text window. We're going to set a background color. So set BK color is going to be, let's do this one as 3. That should be cyan, because 3 is going to be G and B, RGB thing. It's going to be 3 is a 0011. So that's going to be green and blue, which is cyan. And we're going to go ahead and clear the screen using just that window. So _G window. That'll clear my screen in just that window. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and start by clear my message. And that means if there's, parentheses, that means if there's something there already, I've now wiped out the message. If there's nothing there yet, I've just basically defined a message bar on the bottom of the screen. And now I need to print some message, print some text there. So I need to print that in a, I want to do it in a specific color. Let's do set text color of, let's do this one as bright white. That's 15. And so that's going to be bright white. And then I'm going to go ahead and print out some text. So I'm going to do out text. And what I'm going to print out? Well, whatever I got passed to me up here in the argument to my function. That's what I print out. Now it probably shouldn't be any longer than 80 columns because that's how big my display is. So maybe I'd want to do some extra tests in here to make sure I'm not going to be too wide. But for this simple program, I'll just stick with that. By the way, if I'm doing that, my text window up here for my window for the Tableau doesn't need to go down to line 25. I mean, it can, but I can actually just go down to line 24. So this will be if I as long as I have a message line displayed, that'll be okay. So when I do a clear Tableau, let's also do another one that says clear message, and when I quit, so I might use that clear message to display messages to the user. Maybe in this case I want to do a clear, I'm sorry, not a clear message. In this case I want to do a print message. I want to print the message of press any key to quit, because that's what we needed to quit. So what has this done? We've added a new function up here, one that is clearing a message line. That's going to just define a text window that is 1 line tall from the left to the right at the bottom of the screen. It's going to set a background color to be cyan. It's going to clear that window. So now just bam, the bottom of the screen is going to get cleared out. And then when I do my print message, it's going to make sure it wipes out whatever's there, because I might have had a long string. This next one might be shorter. And I'm going to go ahead and set my text color appropriately and display my text, my message. That's all I've added because the text that I'm displaying is press any key to quit. So let's go ahead and compile that. WCL cards.c. If I didn't make any errors, and it looks like I didn't, now I can run cards. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, I've just now added press any key to quit. Now, there's one other thing that we can do. Press a key here. There's one other thing that we can do, which is to display some sort of a dialog box. Having a little message line is nice, but what if you want to have a full message box, sort of like a pop-up window? So let's go ahead and write that as our last thing. So we'll write our cards program again. So how do you do a message box? Well, a neat thing that a lot of programs will do for a message box is they'll actually make a drop shadow. How do you do that? So let's do that. I'm going to do a message box function here. So we'll do a that's main. So I'm going to write right here. I'm going to do a void function because it doesn't have any return value, and we'll just say print instead of a message. We'll do pop-up. And I'm going to display some message in there, MSG. I want to probably set my text. Here's the hint. What you need to do is you need to, now that we know how to clear an entire region, and that happens very, very fast, what you want to do is you want to set a region that is offset from where your text window is normally going to go, and you're going to make that black. And then you're going to draw your text window basically offset from that, up one and left one, and that'll be where your actual message box goes. So we're going to do a drop shadow first. We do that by defining a text region. So we're going to do set text window. Now I would like my normal window to be, I worked this out before, it's going to be 620 to 1060. But I want this to be a drop shadow. It needs to be off by 1. So I'm going to make this line 7, column 21, and to line 11 and column 61. And just like before, we do now set the background color. So set BK color. And we're going to set that to 0, which, if you remember, is black. And we're going to go ahead and clear screen of just that window. So G window. Now I'm going to do the pop-up. So I want to do my set text window to be where I want it to be. So it's going to be offset from what I had up above. So I want to be at 620 to 1060. And I want to set my background color. So set BK color is going to be, I'll do this one as red, which is 4. Because remember, IRGB, I want that to be IRGB. Oops. IRGB will be red, and that's going to be 0, 1, 0, 0. That's our 1's place. That's our 2's place. That's our 4's place. That's the 8's place. So 4. And so that background color there is red. And then clear the screen. Oops. Clear screen of just that window. G window. And now I've made a pop-up message window. And I probably should put text in it. So we're going to go ahead and set the text color to be what haven't I used? I haven't used bright yellow yet. Bright yellow, or sometimes you'll see that just labeled yellow. And I'm going to set my text position inside the window. The window starts at 620 and goes down to 1060. I want to put this, and I might do a little bit of math. And if I'm doing this on a real program, I might do some math to make sure that my text window is just big enough for the text I want to put in. This is just going to hard code something, so I'll just do set text position at 22. And the background color has already been set at 4, so I don't need to do anything there. And now I need to go ahead and print my message. Now out text is message. And that should be the end of my function. So I've now created a new function to create a pop-up, and rather than doing a message line down here, maybe I'll do. Let's go ahead and let's change that print message to a print pop-up. And that should be all I need to do. So I'm still going to have a cleared line at the bottom. That's what this clear message line does. That message line is at the bottom of the screen. So I'll still have that cyan background thing at the bottom of the screen. But now here, instead of putting a message there saying press any key to quit, I'm actually going to bring a pop-up that's going to press any key to quit. Let's go ahead and save and quit, and we'll compile that one more time. Cards.c. I don't see any errors in there, so we'll go ahead and run cards. And so here I have my Tableau is green. I've got a message bar at the very bottom of the screen. I've drawn my card, and now I've drawn a pop-up window that has a drop shadow on it that says press any key to quit. And as I say, if you're going to do this in your own program, you'd probably want to do a little bit of coding to maybe center that text inside the window and make that pop-up window just big enough for the text. But here I've just hard-coded it so you can kind of see what I'm doing. By putting all the hard work in the functions, I've made the program simpler to read. So if I just to display the function list one more time, go into colors, cards .c. All right, as doing all these functions. A function to clear the Tableau, a function to draw a single card on the screen, a function to create a message line, an empty message line at the bottom of the screen, a function that will display text in that message line down at the bottom of the screen, another one that will just do a pop-up. I've now isolated all that functionality, and so my main program is very simple. When you look at it, all my main program is doing is setting the display mode the way I want it to be, and now it's using a function, a single call, to clear my Tableau and make the message line at the bottom of the screen. And then I've got some other code in here that would do my game, which actually itself might be another function to play game. But here I've done something that just is going to draw a single card. But other stuff you need to do is going to be inside these specific functions. And then I got another function that does my pop-up, and that's what I'm just calling here. And then I'm going to exit the program and then reset my display back to the way I want it to be. So that's all the main function needs to do. It's very short because I've taken all that hard stuff of making my text user interface and putting it in those functions. And that's the best way to avoid bugs in your program, is to isolate that functionality inside those functions. So I'm going to stop there. That's an introduction to Conio. So before I go, I just wanted to thank everybody who supports me on Patreon. You really do make this channel happen. Some of you are supporting me at a higher level, and I wanted to thank you here. So thank you very much for that. Visit our website at freedos.org. Join us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you.